Welcome back to Tech, Tesla, and Trends. I have been watching the Monro Live interview with Joe Justice. Wow, hour and a half, roughly. Heck of a good interview. Well worth watching, especially if you have any interest in the in where those two intersect, where Joe Justice and Monro Live are in the agile development circles, and Sandy and Cory and Joe had an amazing exchange, and the things that came out of there that really struck me, and they relate very much to my module one point with the long term vision and those time horizons of decades and more. In this case, Joe brought something up that I had not heard before, and Joe brought this up. Elon has 1,000-year vision horizon for every company he founds. This to me is just like, wow. I knew that Toyota, or the old man Toyota back in the 80s, back that way, had 100-year plan. But this was just really, Elon taking things to the 10x there. But I think from a perspective of what that actually entails, it's not necessarily hey, we're going to do X and Y on this date and that date and this sort of process. More of a list of things that need to occur in order to make mankind or humanity multiplanetary. And I think that this really plays into the strengths of what Elon is trying to teach people, to rapidly iterate and to move forward. And this is something that I've also seen with Tony Robbins and the way that it talks about you overestimate what you can accomplish in a year, or in 5 years, and underestimate what you can accomplish in a year, or something like that. It strikes me that these things are important for us to understand, and where Tony and Dean Graziosi are talking about those particular aspects of what we believe we can accomplish and what we underestimate in our abilities to achieve in a longer term scale, is really at the foundational level. I think what Elon is trying to teach people with the agile thinking, and as Sandy calls it, that Tesla operates at the speed of thought, where a person thinks of what should be, tests it on the next day, and on the third day it's part of the production line. This is really looking at this long-term vision and learning how to reverse engineer that into a process that is functional, useful, and applicable. So looking at our framework here, the long-term vision that leads us to being aware of trends, and then to use time as an advantage for us, and then to focus on what really matters, what trend or what timelines or whatever else it might be, to draw in that long-term horizon vision goal wherever we're driving at, to bring that closer to us, and then to be bold in imagining the impossible and turning it into the possible. So this really does get to the heart of what does it mean to have a long-term vision. And I think we have to be aware that if we don't reach for the stars, we're never going to reach the moon. If we don't have a desire to reach a sustainable energy future, there's no way that we will be able to wean ourselves off of a fully fossil fueled economy. If we don't have those long-term stretch goals, it's impossible for us to reach further than we thought we could in that 10-year period. where we are achieving goals that nobody believed were possible. And I take this as a point here. If you look at where Tesla has, from the early days, stated that it was driving towards, you look at the numbers that it's claiming that Tesla will achieve in the 2030s is 20 million vehicles. Well, in a given year for production. We're seeing Tesla nail those numbers, and it's an exponential growth. If you take a look of the graphs by, I cannot underscore enough, he puts out some phenomenal graphs, by the way. If you haven't checked him out on Twitter, do. It's truly lays out, though, for this quarter, the truly exponential nature of where this is going for Tesla as far as their vehicle production. And looking at the long-term vision of this, how that interplays, and how being aware of the trends, the battery cost and the cost of materials and lithium, or all the rest of these things, and robotization as the costs come down, and learning how to implement and change and adapt and remove parts, and this whole concept of moving forward and adapting and changing on a rapid iterative process to move at the speed of thought, as Sandy calls it, is truly an impressive and necessary thing, not just for Tesla to succeed or SpaceX to succeed, but I do believe that it's necessary for us as a society, as individuals more specifically, to be able to analyze where we're at. What is our personal 1,000-year goal? Now, granted, we're not going to live to be 1,000. I'm not going to be here in 1,000 years. But what is it that I would like to see achieved because of something that we were working on, and pushing that ball a little further forward so that humanity was able to become multiplanetary? And as many of you know on this channel, one of the items that is, in my mind, really unachievable is that of making a floating city in the clouds of Venus. I know that whole idea of Bespin and Star Wars, that cloud city made an impact. And I can see how the densities and the buoyancy and all the rest of that would enable the opportunity for us to colonize and build a functioning economic system there on Venus. And how that will interplay with Starship and the round trips to Mars and beyond, and all of the other aspects of that. And the questions that I've just been compiling of what are necessary to achieve that particular goal. Not necessarily that I will achieve them, but in building a team, as Joe Justice was talking about. He's working on building a team of people who can answer those questions that he's got for long-term hard habitats in space. And this, to me, is just, it was really this is what we need to do as individuals and others. We have the opportunity to learn and grow and become something more over time. And oftentimes I think we forget that we're leaving behind some of the greatest ideas and people as we discard them from the workplace. And that was one of the other topics that came up, was the elderly and children are some of the greatest sources of stories and information and of curiosity questions. One of the things that I really believe is important to do is challenge not just children, but teenagers and on up into their 20s, because these individuals, as they're growing and learning more, have the capacity to learn and to grow and to understand and then apply what we have in previous generations gained as knowledge. If we are being honest with each other and having this free exchange of knowledge between generations, then 1,000-year visions make sense. When we are continually pecking at each other like chickens in a hen house, about left versus right stupidity instead of what makes right for the individuals. That is really an important aspect that I think we are missing out on. We are failing to comprehend that what your perspective is and what my perspective is are very different things, and it's okay to have those differences. As we look forward to where this long-term vision enables us to move to, if we're working together, we get farther and we're able to achieve more as a people, as a society, and as individuals. I really believe that the future is available to all of us if we are willing to work together. That multiplanetary future that Elon keeps talking about is something that I passionately believe in as well. I believe that there is an avenue forward that if we collectively, individually, are willing to see the items that we are passionate about, if it's how to grow things better, or how to produce oxygen in a different way, or to change fuel sources, or to have better filtration on water, or for whatever that curiosity point in your mind, that passion that drives you forward, that you're interested in or curious about, those are the things we need to pursue as individuals. And I've talked about that in numerous videos. That scarcity in our minds is truly what we have to develop. We have to be able to pull people from one generation forward and back into conversations and be able to move forward as a group to achieve something wonderful and amazing. I would love to hear your comments on this. There's so much more to this particular interview that Monro and Associates gave and put together. There's just so much there, and I highly recommend that you take the time to watch that particular hour and a half of conversation, the back and forth, the conversation and stories between Sandy, Cory, and Joe is just absolutely phenomenal. For tonight, we'll leave you with that. Go watch it. Drop some comments in what you found entertaining or interesting or out of an amazing nature. I want to hear what you have learned from that particular interview of Monro and Associates. We'll see you in the comments below.